I'm here with my two Indian runner ducks, Ducky and Quackerjack, that I hatched this year. They've just moved in together a couple of days ago, so they're in a smaller run to get used to each other before they go out free ranging. So they bond. Quackerjack up until now has been with a group of chickens and thinks of himself as an honorary chicken, but they're quite excited because I've just given them a big handful of peas and topped their little tray of water up. They're very happy. What I wanted to talk to everybody about today is the cost of living crisis and how that is affecting smallholding and smallholders. The cost of things like fuel to get to and from the farm and to the feed store is going up. The cost of animal feed is going up. The cost of seeds, compost, straw, hay, you name it, any input that you need for your smallholding or farm, the cost is just going up. And today we're also going to talk to some of the other smallholders from the Across the Holdings collaboration and see how they're mitigating some of the costs involved in smallholding. But let's go and have a look at cost saving idea number 1. I'm here in my perennial garden, and this here is a beetroot from last year. And it is here, and it is ever so exciting because it is, all of those are beetroot flowers. So this beetroot I'm allowing to go to seed, and I hope to collect the seed. Likewise, this is an old parsnip with a dandelion at the bottom as well, which I need to pull up. And this is from last year, and this is also going to seed. And this one is doing very nicely. We've got some seeds that are beginning to dry out, so it's not going to be very long before I can collect the seeds from this. So there is another idea of how to save money on seeds. And it's not an accident we've done this in the perennial garden, because what you'll also see here, this is a perennial Asturian tree cabbage, and growing of perennials, perennial kales and cabbages, perennial herbs, Welsh onions that split and become bunches of more and more bunches of onions, and walking onions, which produce the little bulbils on the flower head that weigh down and then take root and walk. So the walking onions, Egyptian walking onions, things that come back year after year, like the globe artichoke, the massive amount of productivity that comes from the rhubarb, and the fruit trees that will come in the years to come. That is really an amazing, not only money saver because I'm not constantly replanting and buying plant starts and seeds, but also it mitigates some of the climate change that we're having. The perennial plants are far more robust. Okay, let's have a look at what Emma has to say, because I think her answer ties in quite well with some of the things I've just spoken about.
Hi Joe, it's Emma from Otterwood Cottage. Thanks for inviting me back onto the channel and for another great question. I'm going to share with you 2 things we're trying to do to help save us money on the small holding next year. And the first is to grow lots of cover crops on the property. And the intention of this is to bring down, or hopefully completely eradicate, our compost bill, because the cost of compost has skyrocketed. We do try and do no dig here, but we just can't keep buying in the amount of compost we have been. So cover crops, and just in the background there are our compost bays. So making our own compost and using cover crops, which we will chop and drop, leave on the ground to rot down, and hopefully eradicate the need for buying in compost next year. And the second way we're going to try and save some money is to get a bit more serious about saving our own seed. So since we started growing, we have been saving our own seed from tomatoes, and in the last couple of years we started saving our own seed from beans. We're going to try and teach ourselves how to save seed from a wider range of different fruits and veg, so that we can save ourselves needing to buy those in. So effectively what we're trying to do is create a bit of a circular economy here on the small holding, trying to bring in less from outside and create as much as we can here on the property. Fantastic question, Joe. I can't wait to hear what everybody else has got to say. See you soon. Bye.
Well, that was Emma from Otterwood Cottage. Thank you very much. That was a really good answer. And similar to you, that's another thing that I'm using to help save money. So this is green manure. It's absolutely humming with bumblebees at the moment. So this Basilia is a chop and drop crop. I am waiting for the seeds to come because then I won't have to resow it next year. But I also have some really nice clovers I'm growing as chop and drop. And that will save a lot of money. It's a lot of biomass to be able to put on the surface to save money on both mulch and then also money on compost later. So brilliant, brilliant thing to be doing to save money. One of the other things that I'm doing to save money is growing crops specifically to feed as fodder. These are manga wurzels. They're a red variety and these guys love them, and that supplements their feed. You want them? You want them? And of course nothing on the farm is wasted. Even when I harvest from the vegetable garden, all the leaf tops from the beetroot and anything that has gone over very quickly gets converted into animal feed. Hello. And here we are with Kevin and Ava. Now next, I would like to go across to Adri's farmhouse kitchen and Adri and listen to her answer. Now hers was very comprehensive and very interesting, and there was one aspect in there that I picked up on, and I will talk about that some more once we've heard what Adri has to say.
Hi, I'm Adri from Adri's Farmhouse Kitchen, and I'm answering your question, Joe. What is? With the cost of everything skyrocketing from feed to seeds, even the fuel to get to the farm store, all the prices are going up. How are you adapting to manage on the small holding? So answer it one by one. From feed, let's say we're lucky enough to have enough land, so each of our animals or animal groups got plenty, let's say, grazing area to, to feed on. So we don't rely that much on the store. So seeds, over the years I've learned that saving your own seeds, it's not just saving money, but I think you can be more successful with your own seeds, because it's adapting to your climate and all sorts. And another thing, what you've mentioned, so about fuel and going to the farm and going to the farm store, we usually bulk buy, so we don't go often. I like to get, when we go out to, let's say, where we go to Canvas, our local food store, what we usually go was the closest to us, or TFM is the other one. And when we go, we usually get, have a list what each of our animal needs for the particular month, and we just bulk buy their feed. Yeah, thank you so much for your question, and I cannot wait to answer your next one. Bye bye.
Wow, thanks Adri. That was really comprehensive, and there are a lot of things to think about in that answer. And the thing that I wanted to talk about from your answer was that you have plenty of grazing for all your animals, and so that therefore reduces your food bill. And although I am growing fodder crops for my pigs, they take a huge amount of feed and a huge amount of input money-wise. Pigs need very specific nutrients and minerals to be able to absorb food and gain weight. The most notable of those is lysine, and I can't completely, with this breed of pig, feed them on fodder. I have to be dependent on the feed store for a large portion of what they eat. So having thought about that, my decision is that I am going to change the breed of pigs I have. So these guys are all going to go over this next season, and I'm going to have the winter off keeping pigs because they are very expensive to feed and they are no longer economically viable. Their feed costs have gone up 3 times here since January, and it's now too expensive to feed them the volume that they require. So these pigs are going, and then if I do decide to go for pigs, maybe I will go for something that is renowned for being much better at grazing. So something like a kuni who can much more heavily rely on things that they find around and about the farm, windfall apples and grazing, which leads me on to my next insight for next year. So here we are with the lambs. And what I've decided is next year I'm going to get far more lambs. I have 4 this year. They are not keeping up even close to keeping this paddock grazed. So I need more livestock. And these guys, once they're weaned off their milk, survive entirely on the grass that is grown. So they have their initial purchasing them cost, and they have the cost of obviously processing them at the end of their life. And there are other treatments down there. Obviously, one of mine needed to see a vet for a lame foot, and they occasionally need wormer, and they need treatment so that they don't get fly strike. But they are a very economical animal to raise. So next year, I'm going to go bigger on sheep. And I'm hoping maybe to add some goats to that, if I can get this paddock secure enough for goats to come in here and graze as well. For hedgerows, this is another way I save a lot of money. This is goat willow, and I have several hundred meters of that. And I could cut that as fodder for the sheep, for the pigs, and the chickens. They will all eat this green growth to supplement their feed. But not just that, I forage other things from this hedgerow. This hedgerow also has a lot of hazelnut trees in it, blackberries, rose for rosehip, wild rose. There are sloes on the blackthorn bushes, and there are haws on the hawthorn bushes. So there is a lot of food just in this hedgerow, and it all grows entirely free of charge. We're back in the garden area now with the vegetables, and there are 2 things I do in my vegetable garden to save money. The first is constantly harvesting and resowing to get as many plants grown, as much food grown in this area. But the other really important thing about the harvest is preserving it, not picking it and leaving it in a basket to go over, not leaving it in the bottom of the fridge feeling sorry for itself. It actually has to get turned into something that can store and save for use later on in the year. Anything that I think that is not going to get processed will get fed directly to the animals. So there are 2 more different ways that I make sure that the money goes as far as it possibly can on the farm. Now it's time to hear from Jim and Lou from Fields and Flocks and see, oh goodness me, I've just got twice flicked with mud with a little pig in the wallow. Let me turn you around and show you. That little mud monster just flicked me all over. I'm covered head to toe in flecks of mud. Yeah, just like that.
Hi Joe.
Jim and Lou from Fields and Flocks.
Thanks for having us back on the channel, and we are here to answer your question with the rising costs. How are we managing to cope or budget better? And I think, to be completely truthful, we're not.
There's a few areas we are. I feel like it's mainly the pigs. I feel like with the allotments and a lot of stuff growing, or things that have kind of gone over from last year, like tree cabbages and things like that, we're pulling up things from the allotment beds that we can give to the pigs.
And I mean, hopefully we've got investment now for savings later. You know, we're doing more meat birds now. We've got the sheep, we've got the pigs, and so hopefully we'll notice next year that we do supplement our meat with the butchers, but now we won't have to. So I suppose that will hopefully be a cost.
It's just beef, isn't it? I go to the butchers and all we buy is beef, which is the one animal we haven't got. But chickens is one that I've always wanted to try and figure out more how to grow plants that we can feed the chickens with, or where you sprout grains. But I've had a little bit of trouble sourcing those. it's always been on my radar to do it. It's just getting around to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, it's
But overall, we're actually doing very badly on that subject.
Yeah,
we're not managing to find too many corners cut, and we're finding that any savings we were able to do on a monthly basis are gone. You know, they've just kind of gone into living and the small holding. So yeah, great question. It's definitely something that we will be watching your video to see ideas from what everyone else has said.
Hopefully you guys give us some ideas about what we can do.
See you in the next one.
That was really interesting, Jim and Lou. I do hope that we have some answers for you to help you out on the farm. I suspect there is a lot that you are doing that you just don't realise, and when you hear everybody else's answers, you'll go, oh yes, we do that. But this is another way that I make sure I'm making the most of what I'm doing on the farm. So these guys are the cockerels from one of the batches of eggs I hatched this year. And picking the breed of chicken, the correct breed of chicken, is another way of saving money. So these guys, their mothers were like Sussex, their father was a Rhode Island Red, and so the males were born this colour and the females were born red. I'll take you over and see the next flock, the next succession of chickens, so you can see. So it's easy to identify the female of the flock, and they can either replace laying birds of mine that are getting old, or they can be sold very easily. People are happy to pay a premium if they've got guaranteed auto-sex hens. They're also a breed that lay prolifically, and they're also what is known as a dual purpose bird. So I try to rehome as many of the boys as I can, but those that I can't rehome will be processed and go into my freezer, and they will not be wasted. These are some of the next succession of birds from the cockerels we've just seen. As you can see, the red ones are ladies and the white feathered ones are the boys. I don't know if it shows on the camera. So there are two girls, one boy, and then there's a, oh, there in the middle, the darker Rhode Island Red, and I suspect he's a boy, looking at his wattle and comb. Whether you have a few containers on a balcony and you're trying to make the most of what you're growing, or whether you have an allotment or a back garden, vegetable garden, whether you've got a few chickens or birds as well, or whether you have a small holding, I really hope that you have gained something from today's video and some ideas on how to save money and make your pennies go a little bit further. I'm Jo from Puddles. It's been nice for you to share your time with me. If you liked the video, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.